Jim Fielding, welcome to the conversation today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is a real pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from the Atlanta area. I'm south of Salt Lake
I
City,
am.
Utah. And today we're going to be talking about the recent retreat from Corporate
Mm,
DEI Initiatives. This is something that I feel very passionately about. I know you do as well. So we're
as
going to be
well.
unpacking this and exploring this together,
Hmm.
trying to figure out like what are the steps forward here. I
Hmm.
have to admit, it's like I feel like I'm beating my head against a brick wall as as I watch the news and as I hear people talking about this, both in the media but also in corporate spaces.
Yes.
And it's just so important. And yet, given the current political climate, lots of organizations are feeling maybe the pressure, the need to retreat. And so this is the reality that we find
Hmm.
ourselves in. Um,
Hmm.
and this is what we're going to discuss. As we get started, I wanted to share Jim's bio with everybody. Jim Fielding, a proud Ohio native and Indiana University Hoosier, started his career on the department store floor. Over the next 30 years, he would lead some of the world's most beloved media and retail brands, including The Gap, Disney, Claire's, DreamWorks, and 20th Century Fox. Jim is known for his ability to combine storytelling and product merchandising into unforgettable consumer experience. As culture builder and talent spotter, he has recruited and trained global leaders in a variety of disciplines and at all levels. Today, Jim spends his time and talents on independent media, entrepreneurship, higher education, and philanthropy. He's partner at Archer Gray, an independent media company inspiring change through storytelling and innovative brand collaborations. And there's a whole lot more I could say about you, your background, and your work, but I'm going
Yeah.
to pause there. Anything you would like to highlight before we dive on into the conversation?
No, I appreciate, sometimes I listen to that and I'm like, wow, that's really me. But no, I appreciate that introduction. And yeah, I'm honestly spending most of my time, which we'll get into. I'm spending most of my time now writing and executive coaching and doing public speaking, particularly on the topic we're going to discuss, because I feel this tremendous sense of urgency. It's funny what you say. I often say to my friends, I feel like the little Dutch boy with his finger in the dike because I feel like there's these little leaks happening all
Mm,
over the place, and I'm running to plug it. And it's hard to keep up. I mean, it's to your point, it's like a daily, there seems to be like a daily negative story about
yeah.
DEI now that requires reaction. But I love that we get this chance to talk because I'm trying to figure out, as you mentioned, how we get back on the proactive side because it feels most of what I'm doing now feels reactionary and defensive, to be honest. And I want to get back on the positive side of why DEI, why belonging and inclusion. So I'm thrilled to have this chance to talk.
Yeah. So let's go there. It is frustrating. Like it wasn't that long ago. Like we saw the momentum swinging the other direction,
For
right?
sure.
You had the George Floyd
George
moment.
Floyd, right?
Um, you know,
The
I
right to
mean, it's
marry. I
horrible.
mean, the right to
As hor
marry for LGBTQ
Yeah,
was
as
a moment.
horrible as all of those things were that drove us towards,
Mhm.
that pendulum swing. We had corporations were jumping on board because there was social momentum, political
Mhm.
momentum, and organizations were jumping on board with corporate statements and DEI initiatives and
Mhm.
trainings and bringing in speakers and all this kind of stuff. And I think in part probably because there was a lot of performative work happening in organizations, not enough of the real work that needed to happen.
Yes.
Um, that's partially why the backswing has been happening.
Mhm.
Also a lot of political nonsense and all that
Right.
kind of stuff also is certainly part of the dynamic. But now we find ourselves, the pendulum swinging the other way, and so organizations are backtracking, pulling back. Just recently,
Mhm.
it was just in the last week or so, Walmart announcing they're pulling back a lot of their
Mhm.
DEI initiatives. Um,
Yeah.
if you turn on any sort of right leaning or right wing media, it's like almost all they talk about is
Mm-hmm.
the woke agenda and DEI, this,
Anti-wokeness.
that,
Yeah,
or the other,
anti-wokeness.
right? And it's like, how did we get here? How did we get from the point to the, where we're it as I think about it, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, how did these become dirty words? Like it's
I
about
know.
it's about dignity and respect, treating people with dignity and respect, treating
Totally.
people well. Yet they've become so politicized, and it's become dirty words, and we can't do like even just common sense things to just treat people well. Yet that's the reality that we're in currently.
Well, I mean, I think you make such an important point, John, because, I was raised in the I'm a proud Midwesterner, as you said, a proud Ohioan. And we were raised, we were a religious family, a spiritual family, but we were literally raised on the golden rule: do unto others as you would have done unto you, right? And to me, that's DEI, right?
Right.
Is
Yeah.
treat people the way you want to be treated. And we all want to be respected and safe and listened to. And I, the benefit of age is I was there when the early parts of DEI rolled out, before even George Floyd. I mean, George Floyd was later, but I was at
Sure.
Disney. I was at Disney in the early 2000s when a lot of this was going on. But DEI was about, I mean, the American with Disability Act came out of DEI, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there was so many positive things came out of DEI. And I think what we're up against, to be honest, is a very organized right wing, far right plan to dismantle this stuff. And it's in Project 2025. I don't want to go down that road, but it's been very systematic, and it's been going on for years. They've been playing the long game on this. And I think one of the things we haven't done a great job as centrist or people on the left is playing the long game and educating and reminding people why DEI exists and what the benefits are of DEI. You and I were talking about before we came on air. Um, you know, I I worked for some of the world's biggest companies: Disney, DreamWorks, Fox, Gap. There was also a capitalistic competitive reason for doing DEI. And that was
Sure.
because the world, if you look at the workforce, particularly the workforce, when you start looking at 2030, 2035, we're going to have the most diverse workforce we've ever had. And I'm talking about all the definitions of diversity:
Yeah.
class, color, sexual identity, gender. It's so, to me, I was running teams anywhere from 100 people up until, at Claire's, I was like over 10,000 people. I was by nature managing diversity because there's no way that all 10,000 people were exactly the same. They didn't,
Right. Yeah.
and so to me, it was just common business sense to manage diversity. And my entire thing has been creating these psychologically and safe, respectful workplaces and communities where people can bring their most authentic selves to work. And that's including their diversity, whatever they want to share about their diversity. And that's what I always have to remind people with DEI. It was about neurodivergence. It was about physical differences. It was about gender differences. It was about race differences. And unfortunately, especially in the election cycle we're still living with, it became very much about LGBTQ, and it became very much about, frankly, the trans community within LGBTQ.
Yeah.
And as a marketer, brander, communication specialist, even though I don't agree with it, I have to admire how on message the far right was with that. And I don't think we, again, in the center or the left, did a very good job educating back against it. And, you brought up Walmart. I mean, I posted a very direct message about Walmart last week on LinkedIn because they formed the Center for Racial Equity right after George Floyd 5 years ago. And now they miraculously are defunding it and closing it down. And my note was, oh, that's because all of the racial issues in the country are now solved. I mean, we all know that's not the case, right? And I've really struggled because there's a couple spokespeople, self-anointed spokespeople on the far right, who are evidently the anti-DEI spokespeople. And I don't feel like I'm like, where's, it's like point counterpoint, right? I'm like, where's the counterpoint from the other side to say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Managing belonging, managing with a diversity lens or a belonging inclusion lens is actually good for business, it's good for society, and it's good for communities. Where is that? Like, where's that narrative? And I feel I have to use my platform, my writing and my speaking and my coaching and things, podcasts like this. I'm not anointing myself as the spokesperson for the other side, but I feel like we have to be telling the stories of it because we're only hearing one narrative, and that's extremely worrisome.
Well, yeah, I mean, you make a great point. The business case for DEI.
Totally.
I mean, the human case should be enough, but
Yeah, the moral, ethical, human. You want it to be enough, but there
you
is a
want it to
business
be
case.
enough. The moral, ethical,
Ethical,
human
totally.
case should be enough. But if it's not enough, the business case is so freaking clear
So
that
clear.
it's so clear that we have better creativity, better productivity, better efficiencies, more
Mm-hmm.
innovation. All of these things, all of these outcomes are so much better when we have better a better handle on diversity, when we have more inclusion, when we have a better sense of belonging, where people bring, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
their whole true,
Their whole
genuine,
selves.
authentic self
And that,
to the
yes.
workplace.
And that includes immigration, right? That includes
Yeah.
legal immigration, that includes the melting pot that is America. And some of my talks, John, and speeches, and I always worry when people hire me, but I'll literally stand up and say, if you think you're going to manage a team, I don't care if you're managing a team of 440, 400, and they're all going to be cisgender straight white people, like, you're going to have a really hard time filling that team because, again, just look at the demographic facts of America right now, right? And if you want, the whole point is you want to have the best talent available, and you want to recruit from a diverse candidate pool because you don't want to recruit from an echo chamber and have everybody. It's the same thing. Okay, I'm a proud out gay man. I managed teams. I didn't have an entire team of gay people. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? I mean,
Right.
it's not, that's not diversity either. And if I wasn't able to work with a wide variety of people, I would have never been successful in my job. And to me, that was all the training that they put us through back in the late 90s and early 2000s was about recognizing your own inherent biases or your own microaggressions or your own leadership style that maybe you weren't open to managing diverse teams. Like, that's what it was about. It wasn't, there wasn't this like woke agenda that we keep hearing about. I didn't even know what a woke agenda was.
When I hear woke agenda, I'm like, my woke agenda is to treat people well and to be kind.
Right. Kind, authentic kindness, 100%. I'm like, I don't think it's wrong of me to be kind to everybody, regardless of their background, their educational background, where they grew up, the color of their skin, their gender identity, their sexuality. Like, I don't think that's wrong to just be kind. Um,
Yeah,
and
if a
we've
woke agenda
lost
means
that.
I'm not a total a-hole to everybody, I mean,
Totally. Totally. I have the no a-hole rule. It's so funny you say that. Like, people ask me now, the benefit of aging again and being in corporate as long as I've been is, listen, we've all worked with varying
yeah,
degrees of a-holes in our life, right? And I have this filter now when I'm looking at coaching, when I'm looking at speaking, where I really am like, is this somebody I want to spend time with? Is this a company I want to spend time with? And yes, I have the glory of saying no. But that is a huge filter for me because I'm like, I'm not going to put my, and it goes back to my whole thing about physically and psychologically safe spaces. Why would I put myself in a space where I don't feel comfortable to be my authentic self? I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just not doing it. And I don't want anyone to have to do that.
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned earlier, there's so many different forms of diversity, right?
So
And
many.
it's not just the outward things. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
race,
Mm-hmm.
ethnicity, It's not just gender. These are the things we often talk about, but it's neurodiversity,
Totally,
it's socioeconomic diversity, it's
totally.
all sorts. And
Right.
these are all the things we should be, reminding people about. And there
And be
really are.
comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am a straight cisgender white dude,
Yeah.
and I am, and I can't help the fact that
That's
I
your
am.
truth. I was going to say, that's your authenticity.
I
That's your
am,
authenticity.
and the reality is I'm embarrassed. I'm a little bit embarrassed by that because it's a lot of straight cisgender white dudes that are the anti-woke, anti-DEI people because they feel threatened. They feel their privilege is threatened. And that's
Yes.
a lot of what
They're
this
losing,
backlash
they're
is.
losing, they're losing something. Right. And yeah, listen, I was a political science major in Indiana, and I have struggled post election because because particularly not as much your generation, John, not assuming how old you are, but I'm really concerned by the younger straight cisgender white men who seem to have been educated somehow differently than I was. And I, I, I totally, we need people like you. We need people like you who are allies, who are, who are saying, I'm going to embrace all kinds of diversity, belonging, and inclusion. And I love what you were talking about, because one of the trainings we went through, and again, I give Disney so much credit for this. We went through visible and invisible diversity training, right? Because there's the visible that you talked about. Like when you walk into the room, I know what color you are, I know how tall you are, I know if you're thin or medium sized or maybe stocky. I don't know if you have neurodivergence. I don't know if you have
Right.
hearing loss. I don't know if you can't see out of one eye, right? There's so many invisible things. And also you as a cisgender straight white man, you may have a family member who
Right.
is different. You may have a son, a daughter, a brother, right? Like that's part of your authenticity. And my whole thing is, again, I'm not trying to create safe spaces just for the LGBTQ community or just for people of color. It's safe spaces for everybody. I want you to be able to work in a workplace and live in a community where you're safe to share your story and be proud of your story. And you know what? You're a straight cisgender white man. That's great, right? But you're also a straight cisgender white man that cares in a genuine, kind way about other people that are different from themselves. And that's part of your authenticity. And I don't think it should be this hard, right? I
I
I
don't
don't
either.
I don't think it should be this difficult, and it is. I mean, and I you mentioned this. I mean, you turn on your news feed or you turn on your television and you're like, oop, there goes another one. Walmart, Ford, Toyota, John Deere, right? And you're like, what? And always in their press release, John, they make a point of saying that they're no longer going to support pride groups like employee resource groups, or they're no gonna. And I'm like, wait a minute, like again, you're demonizing the gay community, the LGBTQ community. What about the black groups or the women groups or the neurodivergent groups? Like, are you going to not support all employee resource groups now? It's just
Right.
so narrow. And I feel like it's very reactionary. And in many cases, there are activists who are making lives very difficult for the C suites and the board of directors of these companies. And if the company leadership and board does not have courage in their convictions, they buckle. And that's what I see happening. And when I see it happen, I call it out. I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it's sad. Like we
It
both
is.
said, it doesn't need to be this way. Like it
Mm-mm.
I lament how politicized this has all been because
Very
really
much.
I just want everyone to be treated with dignity and respect. I just want people to be treated kindly. Um,
Baseline. Yes, baseline.
yeah, and I want everyone. I mean, you don't have to be a person of color. You don't have to be um on the
Mm-mm.
spectrum. You don't have to be like anyone, everyone, right? And I want everyone to have equal opportunity, and I want
Mm-hmm.
everyone, to feel like they are safe. And this
Yes,
seems like a very reasonable goal. And
I
so
think so too. And I thought
and
we were
so
done. I thought it was done.
I thought we were
that's
getting
the
there.
other,
Yeah.
I thought we were getting there. I thought we were making progress. And I think I've learned lessons because you just never can assume it's fully, like, I just thought we were done. I thought we had like crossed some kind of a bridge. And now we're backpedaling, right? I mean, that's a word you and I used before. Like we're actually going backwards. And so then again, being a lifelong learner, I'm like, okay, what did we do the first time that we have to go back and do again? And to me, it was about narrative storytelling. It was about education. It was about calling out injustices and wrongs and unkindnesses when you saw it.
Yeah.
And we have to go back to that because that's my whole thing is like we live in a democracy and I love being American and I love democracy, the big D democracy. And there's always multiple sides in the democracy, right? And I love voting and some people win in a vote and some people lose in a vote, but you should still be able to have healthy discussions without it degenerating into unkindness and these political ramifications. And like I said, I feel like I have a platform now, and so I have to use that platform. And I have practical real world experience. I mean, I was a CEO, I was a president, like I built diverse teams. And by the way, teams around the world, I had teams in Asia, I had teams in Latin America, Australia, New Zealand. I mean, that's also managing diversity, right? Like you can't look at everything with just an American lens if you're managing these global multinational brands. That's diversity. How people view something in Brazil or Australia is very different than how we view it.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's a good place to end this conversation.
Sure.
I'm not sure we have an answer. Like, how do we fix this? How do what's the path forward? I'm not sure what it is at this point, but maybe we start with just reintroducing civility back into the space.
Yes,
Because
authentic kindness.
Because I feel like that has departed.
It has.
It's just really we've gotten so far away from just being able to have reasonable conversations with people. It's become so polarizing and politicized. Let's just treat people with kindness. Let's have civility. Let's have some reasonable conversations.
Yeah, I was gonna say healthy debates. You're allowed to disagree. I mean, you are allowed to disagree. That is part of being an American, and that's freedom of speech, and that's living into democracy. I value people. I don't want a bunch of people. I don't want to live in an echo chamber like where everybody thinks exactly like I do. So, but I don't, to your point, want it to degenerate into anger and people closing their minds to the discussion. Like I want it to be civil, to your point. So I think that's a great place to end because I know inherently people believe in authentic kindness. And I know inherently they believe in the golden rule and that they want to be treated the way, like they just have to think about, wait a minute, do I want to be treated the way I'm treating this person or this group or this situation? And I bet 90% of the time the answer is no, that's not how they want to be treated. So we just have to go back.
Yeah. Well, Jim, this has just been a really great conversation.
My pleasure.
There's a lot more to be said, but I note the time. I'm going to have to let you go. Before we wrap things up, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work.
Yeah,
give us a final word for today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My website is hijimfielding.com. So easy to find me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. I have a book out called All Pride, No Ego. Very easy to search, audio book and written book. And I guess my parting thought is one of the lessons in the book I talk about, because the book is organized around life lessons. The last life lesson of 10 is authentic kindness is more important than being right or being first. And I think that's just a really great way to end this, is that I am as competitive as the next person. I worked at some of the world's largest brands successfully, but I always had the filter that I wanted to lead with authentic kindness. And I think that that's possible.
Great. That is a wonderful way to end it. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Jim. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the insights, the wisdom. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Jim can do for you. Check out the book. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great